This is something kind of personal to me because I've never actually expressed this feeling, at least properly, to anyone. And which is not good, I know, but it's something I want to talk about today because I feel like it hasn't been, at least from my awareness, I've never seen people speak about this topic. And it's something I want to talk about, which is feeling stupid. You know, since I've popped out the womb, really, I've felt stupid. Like honestly, since I was very young, and I know you're probably thinking, "Oh, Shane, you just weren't a curious child. You weren't a curious George." I was a curious George. I literally used to go into class sometimes. Before I go into Irish class, I used to hate Irish class when I was young. I would go, before going in, I would literally amp myself up, my younger self up when I was like 4 years old. I was 5 years old in my first year in primary school. And I was amping myself up to go in there and focus, like listen to what the teacher was saying. And I would go in there and would leave with nothing. I wouldn't remember a single fucking thing. And I used to find it really frustrating when I was younger. I know what you're thinking. Oh, this guy probably has ADHD. No, I don't. I have something worse. Dyslexia. I have a learning disability. Yes. And was one of the main reasons why I felt so stupid. Yeah. Not great. Not good. First of all, when I found out I had dyslexia, which I kind of already felt like I had dyslexia. I mean, my father wrote wedding wrong on my mother and father's wedding tape, which it's probably a clear indicator he had dyslexia. Also, my mother has dyslexia too. So, well, that's a recipe for disaster, which is me. Dyslexic boy. Dyslexic child. I have two other siblings and they're also dyslexic, so it kind of runs in the family. So I kind of always felt like, oh, okay, I have this. And when I finally got it, when I finally got this piece of paper, I was so happy because I no longer had to do Irish. I didn't have to do Irish anymore, which was great. Now, the unfortunate downside of having dyslexia was the embarrassment of leaving the class. Every time Irish would start, and it would go on for about 2 hours, we would have to leave the classroom. And we would go into this little box of a class, which is lovely teacher, by the way. Shout out, Miss Stack. And we would basically just read with her for 2 hours. And it was kind of an embarrassing process, to be honest. You know, leaving, it just felt, you kind of felt weird. You know, you kind of felt not normal because everyone else was doing it when you weren't. Anyway, in primary school, I used to be kind of anxious, I guess. I used to kind of... Well, let's put it this way. I think most kids felt kind of anxious when they were in primary school because old people screaming at you was one of the scariest things of all time. You know, someone bigger than you screaming is just scary. And the idea of it, the thought of it, just, well, I was a nervous wreck thinking about it. It was outrageous. And I used to shit myself going into class because the teacher would, we used to have to read this passage. And we had to explain to the teacher what we'd read. And I couldn't do it. And I used to kind of have a big problem with that. I couldn't wrap my head around what I just read until I found out, oh, my dyslexia is actually not really to do with reading. It's actually to do with memory, which is really fucking bad when it comes to secondary school, primary school, exams in general. If you don't know, exams or the entire school system is based off your memory. It's a complete fucking memory game. So yeah, I didn't have a great entire experience in education. I'm gonna get to that. But yeah, I used to shit my fucking self every Pacific week because, well, what would happen is the teacher would ask someone, we used to have, it was called My Read at Home. And you used to have to read this passage and the teacher would ask a random person and she would ask, so what was this passage about? And like, I honestly could have genuinely read this passage. I could have read this passage 10 minutes before answering this fucking question as teacher. And I still wouldn't know. And I would get in trouble for not being able to tell the teacher what I just read. And the answer would, the teacher would just tell me, oh, you didn't fucking read it. So, you know, and start screaming at me, which is not what I wanted. At least back then, the entire idea of getting in trouble when you're young is fucking terrifying. So didn't have a great primary school experience and left kind of feeling a bit dumb. Anyway, throughout secondary school, I fell for the trap of people saying they weren't studying. Or maybe I actually still don't know. Maybe I actually am really dumb, because that is something I still feel. Yeah. people would tell me, "Oh, I'm not. I didn't even study for that exam," and get like 80%. And I mean, everyone would tell me the same fucking thing. I didn't study for this. I didn't study for that. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to study for it either." Here's me, fucking dumbass, failing the exam, and all these people around me just getting A's. And I thought, what the fuck? Am I dumb? Well, I don't know. Maybe I am dumb, or maybe everyone lied to me. I like to think they lied to me. I do. I like to think they lied to me. Maybe they didn't lie. Yeah, you can see what the struggle is here. I'm confused. I think I'm dumb. I'll be honest, kind of. Anyway, from falling to that trap, I decided they're lying to me. They're just lying, and I'm gonna actually just say, "Oh, I'm not studying. I'm studying." And it still didn't work. And that's when I started to feel really dumb. And I honestly, it ruined probably the next 6 years ahead of me in secondary school, because I didn't have the confidence in myself to feel like I could actually study and it could work. I just felt like it was such a pointless thing to do for me, because it felt impossible, which was a really unhealthy mindset to be in. So I actually ended up dropping out of secondary school, partially due to this feeling, constantly just getting in trouble for not learning, not studying when I actually was, or I would genuinely try study. The worst of it was when I would go into a class, and I remember in science, they would, for 40 minutes, just do 20 fucking questions. They would just go around the class and ask every fucking student something they studied, or like that we might have done chapter 5 on like fucking sex or some shit, and she'd go around the classroom asking everyone, what's a prostate, and I wouldn't have a fucking clue. And it got to the point where I just didn't care anymore, and I would say pass. I wouldn't give a shit, and that was a really bad mindset to be in, to the point where I left. I left because I could convince my mother to leave, because I pursued social media throughout summer. I managed to gain 1 million followers in 3 months for, funnily enough, reading bedtime stories. Anyway, from social media, I started naturally, when you get a following, I started doing business. And for the first time ever, I actually found something where I felt, oh wow, this is actually something through doing college I actually want to do. And for the first time ever, actually considered giving it another go. And I did. I did a course, and it was a year long, and I actually did really well. So something I found out about myself is when I actually enjoy something, I manage to do all right at it. And of course, with leaving cert, I was not enjoying any of the process, and also money is not something that motivates me, at least not for the average. It doesn't motivate me like how it does for the average person. So I couldn't just ignore not being happy because there's money at the end of the tunnel. But with this different approach, there's happiness at the end of the tunnel, and it actually worked, and I actually did really well. But I felt stupid still. I still felt really stupid, and I kind of felt I just got lucky. I have this weird thing where I just make excuses for myself for why I did well in something. And I don't know if it's from a low self-esteem. I don't know what it is, or if it's because of that whole process of education. I just kept feeling like I was dumb. I don't know. But it was actually really bad. So there's 2 options from this course. You have 2 college courses you can go to. There's LIT and there's UL. Now for LIT, you need only 3 distinctions, and for UL, you need 5. For context, I got 8. I got 8 out of 9. I actually did really well. For the first time ever in something to do with education, I actually, on paper, did well. And it couldn't click in my brain. And I just felt, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. And like, honestly, 3 months straight, like it was really bad. I was ringing people every day, people who'd done the course in UL, people who are in the course right now, if they're struggling with certain things. Is it hard? And that used to be my number 1 question. I used to always ask, is it hard? Is it hard? And how can you answer that? It depends on the person, and I could never really get the answer. It was awful. I was going to these counselors in the course I was in. I was going to counselors in UL college. I was talking to the LIT college, thinking, could I do the UL course? It was awful, but I ended up having the confidence to go into UL. I did eventually, but it took a lot of me to do it, and it was a lot. It was a lot for me to do it, and I eventually did. So I finally finished my first year in UL, the hard college, and I'm now going into my second year. But the entire process of the first year was awful. It was really bad. The first semester, I just about passed. I got 2.1 GPA, which really, really brought my confidence down in myself, and I just felt really, really dumb. And in a way, I got this click in my head again saying, oh, this is a waste of time. You're going to fail anyway. You're wasting your time. Go do something else. I had this constant battle with myself, like, no, it's not. Keep studying. And I did all the exams. I studied really hard, and I thought I failed every single one of them. I thought I failed every single exam, and once I came home, I just felt fuck. I remember after the exam, I went into the pub, I downed a pint in 5 minutes, and I went home. And that was that. I had absolutely no confidence in myself, but I passed everything. I got a 3.0 GPA in this one, which is really high. I think the lowest grade I got was like a C1. Everything else was B's and A's, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't even think I could do that. I didn't even think that was possible for me, at least. And yet, I still feel like I'm gonna fail second year, and I don't know what to do, because it's just this constant battle with myself, thinking I'm gonna fail educationally all the time because I just don't feel like I can do it, and I don't know how to fix that. It's something I've been dealing with pretty much my entire life, and it's not down to feeling worthless, because I do feel valuable in myself, and I am smart in other ways. I feel, I'm socially smart. I'd like to say I'm emotionally smart, socially smart, all that. But when it comes to education, I just have absolutely no confidence in myself, and I don't know what to do. And I want to feel smart, but I don't know how. Which is really weird, and I don't know if a lot of people deal with this, because I've looked for this problem online, and there's not really a lot of people who feel like this. And it's one of the reasons why I made this video, to see if anyone else feels how I do, and if they have, how they overcame it. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I have nothing else to say other than pray for me that I pass second year, please. Please.